Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time.
Hello, happy Friday. We are back with another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. I'm your host, Nnamdi Osuagwu, and I'm happy to be here. Today's episode is going to be a recap on Money 2020. As you know, if you see some of our postings, we were there representing, obviously, this podcast, Tech Behind FinTech. And we wanted to do a recap show just to highlight the things that we learned, what went on, some of the things that we did, new things in terms of our process, right? This was the first time that we did our TBF, or Tech Behind FinTech on the Go series. So we interviewed some really interesting companies and leaders from those companies, and we've been posting it this week, and we're going to continue to do those posts for the next few weeks until they're all done. So you're gonna see a lot of interviews, on the spot interviews, because usually last year what we did was we basically schedule guests to be on a podcast. This year we're doing the scheduling for sure, but we also wanted to get live on the floor interviews, and a lot of those worked out really well. So this so far this week we posted CEO of Core Group, Dennis Brosnan, posted his video, so it's going to be on our website, and I'll provide the links in the comments. In fact, let me do that right now. You can have that. I'll provide the YouTube links and the LinkedIn links. So I just did that in the comments. We show it on our screen. So that was a really good interview. We also posted an interview we did with Leisha Bell from PayPal Ventures. Let me see if I can find that, you guys. It will be, like I said, we have more. They haven't gone live yet. So that was some of the special things we did with this particular. We started. You think about it, right? It was the first Money 2020 we did. We started doing that this year. We did it at the Open Source Financial Forum conference. So we just experimented with it there. It was. Let me post this one from Leisha. So it's in the comments. We see the links there. We started doing it in the open source conference early. Well, I think that was September 30th, and we like it. So, this is something that we're going to continuously do. Hit different conferences, get on the spot interviews. Obviously, you can't capture a whole and dive in deep in 5 minutes. So we'll have them on the show, but definitely we can capture some information and get it out there. So I think it's a really good addition to the Tech Behind FinTech and what we're doing in terms of FinTech news and content. One of the other things that we just launched, our updated platform. You can find it at techbehindfintech.com. There we're gonna have a news aggregation, also a FinTech directory, and we're gonna start profiling people. So it's early in the process. Let me get you the link to the website. Gonna start sharing news from the site on LinkedIn. There was a really good one on open source AI. I'm gonna start some good article on the site that's there right now. So I'll share that on LinkedIn as well. I forgot to do the housekeeping. So we are streaming live with Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Also, have a phone feed going to from Instagram Live. One of the things that one of the things that we one of the things that we do, right, is we stream it and then we publish the audio version to our podcast. So the podcast is not the podcast platforms like Spotify and so forth. It's not getting it live, but they'll get it. Once we after we finish the show, we then publish the audio clipping. All right. Without further ado, so the energy I think in this year's Money 2020 was awesome. I mean, and with these conferences, it's really what you make of it. So I mean, the people, all the ingredients are there, right? This is the largest fintech conference I've been to. We're talking about upwards between over 10,000 people, so it could go as much as 20,000 in some cases. I don't know the exact number, but it was a lot of folks. So it's all how you engage. So I think, compare. Some people said, I heard that last year had more people. I don't know, I was there last year. I personally couldn't tell the difference. It was a flood, but I think for me, what made this the best conference in terms of Money 20 that I attended was the active engagement. I mean, I engaged last year, but not like this year was just a total next level of engagement. It was, I was and the on the spot interviews, right? That was huge. That was huge. I mean, we had conversations, but then we like, you know what? And it was so funny because we had some conversations with some folks, and they're like, okay, so when you want to do the interview, you want to schedule? I'm like, no, now, like right now. They're like, right now? I'm like, right now, let's go. And I think adding that dynamic just made it great for me. Yeah, that was just another dynamic, and we had like really good conversations learning about certain companies and so forth, and just getting great descriptions. So that was good. I think I'm having a light issues going in and out. All right, yeah. So that was really good. So I think conferences in general are you get what you put in. So I think for me it was awesome, and the networking was amazing. I met some really really great individuals um, this time around. Last year too, but and I need one of the things I'm always trying to improve on is the follow because you meet people, you have great conversations and so forth, and then nothing happens. So, the follow up is definitely important to, especially people that you want to stay connected to, people that you were like, oh, this was a good experience. Let me try to be active with it. So, you know, it helps with the podcast because a lot of the ways that I build relationships. You sit down with someone and you talk shop for like an hour, right? It's a relationship at this point. Like it's some sort of connection. It's some sort of wow. This was insightful. They're part of your network now, whether it's on social media and so forth. You have a video proof you sat down with this person, and you can do further things. So I always value my guests coming on the show. Anyone I sit down with, even if I talk to you and we do a 5 minute interview, I value that so much, right? Just the someone gave you their time. I mean, that's huge. So those are the things I could think about from my end. I think also from a recap perspective on a personal side. Last year I where I chose to stay was um not close to the well, no, relatively close. It's this monorail that runs across the strip. So I stayed about 4 stops away. So, all the activities going on, you're there the whole day, then you leave. I think the decision to stay in the Palazzo or the Venetian, because it's in the Venetian, but those two are connected. I'm going to moving forward. That's the formula for me. I'm going to stay exactly in the same location that the conference is taking place. I mean, that's one of the things that I felt from the difference between this year and last year. So I'm going to continue that formula. Uh, because you also have. I'm a gym guy, so a lot of you guys know that if you follow my content and some of my posts from before, right? Health and fitness is numero uno in my priority list. So, um, one of the crazy things that I didn't like about the state was the gym opened at 6 a.m. I like 24 hours just personally. So, but, with that being said, it was packed. And everyone that was there working out, majority of them were there for the conference. So, getting to meet people in the gym setting versus on the floor, that's a whole other dynamic of building relationships and so forth. And um, if you've ever been in a gym with me, a lot of my workouts are like non-traditional. So you'll see me just doing random things that may seem uh, it doesn't fit the norm per se. So that always, it sparks conversation or interest, and then I might show someone something I'm doing or trade some secrets and stuff. So that's one of the things that also on the personal side I'm going to continue with doing. Another thing I may change for next year's conference is maybe try to do an activity outside of the hotel. I feel like I just kind of spent, for example, inside the hotel scenario for like 24/7. Probably would think about doing an activity outside, maybe taking some folks or sponsoring an event, something outside um, in the evening or something. Just different thoughts on how to make the experience a little bit different. But for the most part, it was it was a really good event from a business perspective. It was excellent. I'm gonna do a lot, have tons of follow-ups I'm gonna do. So I haven't done a couple, but I have to have a whole laundry list and Excel sheet and see where I got to put everybody's thing in and send emails and so forth. So that's one of the things I need to do. But now that's on a personal side in terms of my experience there. What I want to get into. Oh, I definitely want to do some shout outs to some companies that I sat down with. I'm gonna give a few real quick. Let me do that. So you're gonna start seeing these videos go live probably in the next few weeks. You read, like I said, the two that went, you have the links in the comments. But let's go through it. First off, Dennis Brosman, CEO of the Core Group. Great conversation on the floor. I see that he reposted the interview as well. So thank you for that, Dennis. And I'm looking forward to talking with you, scheduling something next year. Also, with some of your subsidiaries, companies, some of the leadership there. I'm getting them on a podcast. Ditti from Instabase, great conversation. CEO George Grisham from Green Dot. That was a good conversation. We haven't posted that yet, but we will coming forward. Cyrus from True North, Vladimir from Cinch. We had a good conversation with Buy-in, they're a nonprofit that works with a lot of the banks. Brett from Shufti, Christine from Congo. Real story behind that. So I met CEO Ben from Kogo. It's at Kogo last year at Money 2020. I met the whole team actually, and I had them on the show earlier this year. And walking around, I bumped into their booth, and their COO Christine was there. Had a great conversation with her. That will be going live in the next few weeks as well. John from Live Person, Adam from Twilio. Good conversation. Once again, I'll be going live in the next few weeks. Fabian from Keyless. I love that company, what they're doing. Really, really interesting stuff. Laura from Georgia FinTech Academy. That's the second academic that I talked with. I mean, earlier we had a good interview with another academic in FinTech a few months ago. Then from Quabo, they're a fraud and dispute solution. And we just talked about Alicia Bell from PayPal Ventures. We just posted the links there. So wanted to definitely shout those companies out. Thank you very much for your time. Your the Tech Behind FinTech on the Go interviews will be posted soon with those companies. I'll definitely tag the individuals in. So that's said and done. So that was the Tech Behind FinTech experience there. Oh, my bad. I think, God, I hope the podcast people don't hate me. I think my mic wasn't close. So might get louder on the podcast right now. So pardon that if my voice was off. But let's get into some things now, right? So in Money 2020, there is obviously I had my own experience by engaging with different individuals there and companies, but there are a ton of different slots and topics being discussed by leaders throughout. So I want to bring you some of those and some quotes that I found interesting from the wrap up series. Couldn't attend all of them, but one of the good things is we get information on most of them, so I could display that to you. One of the things, so we had a press a press meeting. So crazy considering myself press at this point, right? Because of the Tech Behind FinTech, because of the podcast. So they you get a press pass to these types of events. So now this is the second year in a row I went out there to represent Tech Behind FinTech. So as being part of that press pass, you get access to certain conversations. So Scarlett Sieber, I'm Chief Strategy and Growth Officer. One of the things I asked her during that press conversation with her and Tracy Davies, the president of Money 2020, was getting a sentiment of the market. Like, where do you see? One of the interesting things she said was, you can tell based on the different talks and the speakers we have on, getting a feeling of the market. So, this year, ton of AI conversations. As we know, AI is, it's ubiquitous at this point in various verticals, but especially in fintech. Fraud, that was another huge, a lot of companies and vendors around fraud. Blockchain, a lot of conversations around that. Regulation, in terms of some reg tech situations. Those were the kind of the biggest things that we to get, like, to see what's the market talking, where things going, what are the interests. Fraud is huge. Fraud's always huge. But so a lot of companies in terms of fraud. We had a good last week's show, right? It was on money laundering. That was if you didn't check out last week's show, definitely go to the website and look at last week's show. That was a really good episode on money laundering and fraud as well. So let's go through some of these talks. Open banking, and that's another huge thing. So there was one talk, from hype to reality, Gen AI in banking and fintech summit. So Malcolm DeMayo, Global Vice President of NVIDIA, was talking. And let me get a quote. Gen AI is driving the new industrial revolution. We're taking your vast amounts of data, your unique data, and using it as inputs to an AI factor. We're creating outputs to generate insights, intelligence, that generate content that enable personalized experience, that enable better decision making. Malcolm DeMayo, Global Vice President of NVIDIA, during a talk from Hype to Reality, the Gen AI and Banking Summit. Um, there's another one. It's another talk, AI at Scale, Lessons from an Industry Leader. Here's a quote from Emily Glassberg-Sands, the head of information at Stripe. The AI economy is very real. We're seeing AI startups growing at an unprecedented pace, and not just in terms of their compute or their spend, but in terms of their revenues and the breadth of customers they're reaching. As we're designing our goods and services, it's paramount that we reason about the end user experience, deeply understanding it and feeding those insights back to make the model increasingly powerful. So, so once again, right, a lot of these talks revolving around AI because that's where the market's at, man. That's where everyone's talking about. So another talk, balancing innovation and regulation in the Gen AI era. Here's a quote from Amy Whittle, principal at FS Vector. It's interesting to think about where the treasury might go. I think some areas the regulator might focus on moving forward might be mitigating bias, ensuring explainability of AI models, and then also ensuring human involvement in AI use and employment, making sure that humans have a check on the way AI is used and its outcomes. So I mean, let's break that down, right? Because as things get regulated, it and I was having some conversations about this while I was there, right? It's not necessarily when someone comes in and they start looking at the models of some of these things. It's basically how is it? How, can you explain how does it work? What's underneath the cover? I don't think we're going to get to. I don't think as the industry progresses and AI becomes even more pronounced, it's going to be can we explain this model? I don't think it's going to be like a whole black box. We don't know what's going on. They're going to accept it. They want to understand like how is this thing working? How is it impacting end users, especially when you start dealing with large amounts of data, people's finances, PII, like what's going on behind the scenes. I think we're going to see regulation around that. Another good hold up. Let's go down and see some more. So many different talks on that. One from Danielle Gorfin, CEO of Gap Horizons. Financial services have dealt with, this is a good point. Financial services have dealt with emerging technologies for decades, and I would argue that the existing framework is fit for purpose. We have consumer protection laws. On the investor protection side, you can't manipulate markets and you can't be involved in things like wash trading and smoothing type practices. These laws are agnostic to the technology you're using. I see a point, right? Daniel's point, but yeah, I mean, as certain technology starts to come to the forefront and become a bit more complex, there's ways to you have to understand what's going on. I mean, I'm not saying that the people doing and diving in, they have to be experts, but they're going to have to understand or something has to be presented so you know what's going on. I don't think it could be totally, like I said earlier, like a black box solution in which you're running these complex models and then when regulators come through, it can't be explained. Because when I think you get into problems. And while some people are timing in. All right, so those on Instagram, this is the Tech Behind FinTech podcast. So you're just watching me kind of go through it. We're doing a recap of Money 2020. All right, so let's go through other conversations, other talks. Get that. Also, there were some what happens. There were some announcements being made. So a lot of companies basically broke news of new things happening during Money 2020 that they shared for the first time. So we're going to go over some of that. So Open Banking Excellence launched the Transatlantic Index USA, which examines the impact and opportunity of open banking in the US. It found that 90% of respondents had a desire to come to the US owing to the excitement of new open banking rules. Novo launched a solopreneur focused tool, including the Novo Business Credit Card, AI powered Novo bookkeeping solution, and Invoice Flex, which enables businesses to be paid the moment the invoice is paid. Citizen Bank, in partnership with Cognizant, launched a fraud monitoring and management platform. Google Cloud announced a partnership with Citi to modernize Citi's technology infrastructure using Google's AI and high performance computing capabilities. Convera presented an examination of today's global economy with an eye towards what comes next, predicting market volatility due to global economic factors. There was also something I wanted to share in the comments. See if I can find it. Um, wow, there was something I wanted to share for you guys. Oh, found it. So another announcement, right? Money 2020, in partnership with Accrue Capital, launched the inaugural All In on AI Financial Services Adoption Index 2024, which profiles how 221 of the top financial services companies globally have used AI. It found that 76% of these have announced at least one AI initiative, with 46% of these institutions actively employing generative AI in their core customer facing products. So we have a link. My man Mickey said we have a link to the white paper. Let me give that to you guys. I'll put the whole thing. Oh, it cut off. It was too wide. All right, let me just put the link itself. I'm just gonna put AI white paper. Excuse me on that. Okay, so have it on the screen. It's on our YouTube channel. Okay, so you have that. Open banking comes to the US, definitely huge. There were some quotes I wanted to get because they had some talks on that. All right, let's see. We have some more stuff we could talk about, some other announcements. Trustly announced it has been awarded a patent to create split tokens, one that goes to the merchant and one that is retained by Trustly, making security breaches and the hacking of consumer data impossible. Interesting. TransUnion announced the release of TrueIQ data enrichment to help customers launch personalized offers to the right consumers faster and more accurately. Money 2020 unveiled 7 startups poised to transform the world of money during the startup media session. Eisen is the first automation solution for banks, fintechs, and credit unions and others that proactively manages offboarding for dormant accounts. Let's see what that's about. Try to get my notes together. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. Trying to find out. Okay, yeah. Whether it's banks winding down, fintechs winding down, bank services winding down, we're really able to help reunite millions of people with their money. Alan Osuagwu, co-founder and CEO. I say. Okay, let me go through some other announcements, and then we're gonna then like focus on some of the talks. Those were the or one of the other. I'm just not going through all seven companies at the Right Wave is a revolutionary AI research assistant that generates trustworthy, insightful financial analysis on demand. Interesting. Nala is an international money transfer app that allows individuals and businesses to send money from UK, US, and EU to Africa quickly and safely and reliably. It's always interesting. Zuma is a platform that enables businesses in Latin America to manage their finances and invoices quickly and easily through WhatsApp. Hmm, interesting. All right. So with that being said, let's oh, this is an interesting one. There's a fireside chat with Gary Gensler. He's the chair US Securities and Exchange Commission. Let's get a quote. We are the destination where other countries want to come into our capital markets. We cannot take that for granted. I think that it might be decades away, but there are other nations that really want to take the lead from us. I want to think of everything we can do to lower the cost and risk in our stock and treasury markets and then elsewhere across capital markets. It's interesting. So there was a panel on there was a panel on give me a second. So I think it was a panel on stable coins. I want to get some quotes from that. I'm going to get you the exact panel name. The future of stable coins and tokenized money. So here's a good quote. Until you have shoppers paying for things in stable coins, until you have beneficiaries wanting to receive stable coins, you're going to have to convert it into and out of fiat. Fiat meaning, cash money. John McNaught, head of payouts and wordplay. Quote from Kai Sheffield, VP Global Head of Crypto at Visa. We're seeing a lot more competition of many stablecoins coming to market and greater distribution of where the interest income goes to different participants in the ecosystem. And that's one of the things, right? So you have these panels with people from major financial institutions, right? And it's one of those things. It's like going through all this, you kind of get a pulse of where the industry is at, and that's one of the comments that was made. So kind of seeing the panel, seeing the vendors as they're seeing what are the hot topics they're discussing and things of interest. It's definitely it's like I said before, right? Major stuff, AI, blockchain, fraud. So there was another panel discussion, fighting fraud in an AI first world. So Bank of New York, right? Let's want a quote from Jason Rosado, Director of Product Management. When one bank gets hit, meaning fraud, banks 2, 3, 4, and 5 should know within seconds. And you would think that exists in the world, but it doesn't. At least on the institutional payment side, in theory, you would think it's easy to share data, right? But lawyers and the compliance officers and the risk officers will pop up and say you can't do that. I mean, and as many of you know, also my background since I'm cybersecurity is what I outside this podcast is what I do. So it's sharing threat intelligence within your vertical is extremely useful to preventing attacks suffered by your contemporaries. But it needs collaboration within the ecosystem, because if someone, and this what he's describing here when it regards to fraud not being shared with other banks as fraud happens, but that's just a that's a powerful mechanism in prevention. Yes, right. If you fell victim, obviously, sucks for you. But if the rest of the vertical kind of learned about it, it can prevent others from uh, falling on the same fate. So I mean, it's when I read this quote in this particular panel, I just immediately thought about threat intelligence. Like, where would we be in the field of cybersecurity if there was no threat intelligence? If we're seeing something from a fintech side or a healthcare side. Oh, these companies or this company got hit, and you work in a similar one, and you don't have that information. So how do you now? Because here's the thing. I'm gonna kind of harp on this just because it's kind of near and dear to my heart. I mean, with fraud, cybersecurity, all these things. Here's the deal: you cannot prevent every single kind of attack. It's just not happening. It's just time, cost, resources. Literally, it's not going to work. But what does work, and what kind of works well, right, is when you know or you get an idea of the threats to your vertical, and then you could start solving towards that. Works, right? Because you don't have a limited amount of resources, and now you can say, okay, well, the resources we do have in terms of protecting things, we're going to dedicate to preventing these things, these particular types of attacks that are running rampant in our vertical. Like, our competitors got hit with this, people, our partners got hit with this. So now we're going to start, shoring up against those threats. Not saying that other external threats can happen, but usually the way it works, when something is successful in the vertical and nefarious actor made it in, and like, oh wow, okay, this worked great. I'm gonna use this same formula and I'm gonna do it to another bank or firm that's similar to why am I gonna spend the time and resources to create a whole other attack? No, I'm gonna take the same attack and I'm gonna try it somewhere else that has a similar profile of the place that just got hacked. Even if it's not the same individual, it's like, oh, we read, oh, that works. So it could be another nefarious act. Like, oh, well, that worked. Let's run that play. So, that particular quote by Jason from BNY kind of stuck with me. Another one from in the same talk, fighting fraud in an AI first world. So while fraud is one of the very real things we've been talking about, every time we show up and have a 45-minute conversation about this with a customer, it's like, wait, this is cool. But I have like 75 other real problems I think this can solve. Andrea Gallego from Global MD, GTM Incubation at Google Cloud. Interesting. Interesting. It's, using one solution to kill many one solution. What do they say? One, forget the quote, but basically taking one solution and applying it 8 times over to different problems. So this is like total recap episode. Let's see if oh, this is an interesting talk. Let's see if we can get some quotes in this talk. It was a talk on transforming banking in Mexico, digital adoption and fintech innovations. Uh, Will Grant is chief CTO at Google Cloud. having a programmatic collaboration like we've had for many years, and now ramping it up between the engineers, the problem solvers, the business people, that's the critical catalyst for generating transformative experiences to come. Trust me. Okay. Um, Balaji Kumar, head of technology infrastructure at Citi. It's not just hiring the best people and learning the development. I think that's extremely important, but it's an organizational change. I think it's an exciting opportunity to bring the entire organization together and become a public cloud first company. And that for me is the most exciting thing because it's a culture change and an organizational change and not just a technology initiative. So, you know, interesting. Oh, um, last one, but this talk I found interesting. Let's get a quote from it. Hold up, I totally, yeah. Well, before we move on, let's think about that. Like, it's a couple of things that I mean, cloud, extremely important, obviously. City's talking about it. Um, just let's recap what we went over. So we talked a lot about fraud, AI, just touch based on cloud. So you kind of get from a technology and fintech. We talk about regulation, blockchain. These are like a lot of talks, just in terms of keeping your finger pulse of what's going on. These are the things that kind of came out. So it's really good to understand that. There was a panel, and I'm just going to read some quotes from it. Medical payments, opportunities in a $5 trillion dollar market. So there's a couple of people there from Move, Know Me Health, Arbor Ventures. To Know Me Health, we can actually reduce the overall cost of the United States, and we can actually do it fairly. If you pay a doctor correctly, the cost reduction could be 50% because the challenge of doctors getting paid in the United States is brutal. Very interesting. Another quote from Arbor Ventures: we looked and saw innovation was not happening to the core. So I think in a way, the same thing that happened to fintech can happen here. I love it, right? Now you're talking about payments, you're adding medical payments in a panel like this to a fintech conference. Huge. Because it still involves some type of monetary transaction, but you're adding a whole different industry, healthcare. I I like to see where this goes. I like to learn more about it actually. I think it's in terms of the whole talk was around bringing instant payments to the healthcare industry. Fascinating, fascinating. My sister is a gynecologist. She's the doctor in the family. Over the years, talked about uh, coding and what they basically all the medical, and you have to learn it right from their side, and it's how they get paid. They have to code a certain way, and basically for every procedure and everything that's done, so they can submit it and get paid. So this talk about the opportunities in this $5 trillion market, fascinating stuff. But once again, you can tell by some of these talks, and you just look overall of what is the sentiment in the industry, like where are things going, what's happening, like, what are the concerns. So I think that's a really good part. It's really like that's the bread and butter of like Money 2020. That's really an excellent. Besides the networking and different things, these and like I said, for me in this time around, I didn't necessarily attend these talks because I was getting interviews and talking, but just to look at the recap from it and talk about it now, I'm kind of using it as an opportunity for myself actually to kind of think about things, think about where the industry's going, the different things of that nature. So It's what I found interesting. It's part of the whole discussion. So like we did like a preliminary show, we did a recap show. So it's probably the last podcast on Money 2020, but we're gonna definitely be posting our TBF meaning Tech Behind FinTech on the Go series in the upcoming weeks. Like I said, we interviewed quite a few, so we're probably gonna do about 2 of those interviews a week in terms of posting it. So it should last for a few. You should see that coming on our platform, whether you're connected with me on LinkedIn, YouTube, obviously our website. You'll start seeing more of that. Well, this was one of a recap show. Let's get a message from our sponsor right now and then close things out.
Are you an emerging fintech with a limited budget seeking more sales and partners? Introducing Strategic Generation, your partner in leveraging cybersecurity for sales and partner enablement. Fintechs often lose opportunities due to unsophisticated cybersecurity programs. That's where we come in. Strategic Generation assists with due diligence, security posture visibility, penetration testing, and on-demand virtual CISO services. We connect your systems to our partnered platform, and voila! Instant access to real-time diagnostics and compliance frameworks such as SOC 2 and PCI DSS. Gain the confidence of prospects and partners. Strengthen your cybersecurity program and drive success. Stop losing deals due to cybersecurity. Visit strategicgeneration.com and click on On-Demand CISO to connect with an expert.
Like that, we are back. So today's show, like I said, we attended Money 2020 USA 2024 this year. We just wanted to do a recap of that, talk about some of the panel discussions and so forth. Obviously, our experience there, all positive. To everyone I met there for the first time, man, it's been a pleasure. I will be in contact with you. And to the organizers, excellent job. Really put on a really good event. There's always a show or concert afterwards. This year was in vogue, so it was interesting. Cool seeing them. It's been a while. Back in my old school days, I used to hear their music a lot. So it was cool getting that experience. Last year though, it was I guess the 50 years of hip hop. So they have Run DMC. That was totally amazing. I was pretty hyped about that one, Grandmaster Flash, and it was good. It was good. So always look for those. That comes in on the Tuesday, because it's usually Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Tuesday nights to the concert in the facility. So once again, great event. Thank you all for your time today and chatting or being online with me. Really appreciate it. Like I always say, right? Whether you watch this podcast live, whether you're going to watch it tomorrow or next year, appreciate it. Our viewership. And I thank you for that. And on that note, have a great day. Enjoy the weekend. It's Veterans Day on Monday, so to all my veterans, definitely thank you for your service. And on that note, cheers. Take care.
Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time.